Hello and welcome to the Detroit Way, a Detroit sports podcast. I'm your host, Chad Marriott, brought to you by Off the Field and Screen. And this week, everybody's on a break right now. We're just about to really get started into a very intense period of the sports year. Not just across our Detroit teams, but across college sports as well. But we're really gearing up. But right now we're on a break. The Red Wings are on the Olympic break. The Pistons are on the All-Star break. Spring training for the Tigers has just started. We're going to have some games in about a week. So we're really here soon. We'll be in the playoff push for the Pistons, the Red Wings, and the Tigers will be getting ready to start their season, and then the Lions will be preparing for the draft. So right now, the main topic of conversation for this week's episode is really going to be the Pistons at the All-Star break, the best team in Detroit, best team in the NBA. Why is that? I think it really starts with the two biggest pillars. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of things that are going right. But the two biggest reasons are J.B. Bickerstaff and Cade Cunningham. Let's start with Bickerstaff. He helped the team create an identity based on really three major things. One, defense. The Pistons are first in steals, first in blocks, third in opponents' points per game. When you play good defense, you are in every game. You can stay in every game if you're playing good defense, and that goes all the way to rebounding as well. That's how you end a possession that's not a turnover. You got to get the rebound, miss shots, create, get the rebound, which is something that this year from last year has been an evolution, that they're improving at ending those possessions. Attack the paint. This is their second in points per game in the paint, third in free throws attempt per game. When you're dominating the paint, it's when people talk about efficiency, they always talk about jacking up threes, but this is also getting good shots in the paint, getting layups, getting dunks. This is also very efficient scoring opportunities for the Pistons, and they are dominating the paint in every single game. And then finally, resiliency. They're among the league leaders in single-digit wins. They play hard pretty much the whole game every night. The turnovers, the bad turnovers have gone down. Or if they get behind, they find ways to get back in the game. So defense, attack the paint, and then, of course, resiliency, more than anything, is a lot of this group was a part of the team that lost an NBA record 28 games in a row. And now, just a couple years later, they have 40 wins at the All-Star break. And we'll come back to that. Bickerstaff has 84 wins as a Pistons coach. If the Pistons finish their season 21-8, he'll move into top 10 all-time for the franchise. He only needs 10 more wins this season to match the total wins that the Pistons had in the 5 seasons prior to his being hired. So he's going to need probably less than 2 seasons to match the 5 prior seasons win totals. It's just, and it's absurd. And then we have Cade Cunningham, and he's become one of the league's best players. He's 17th in scoring, 2nd in assists, 4th in double-doubles, 2nd on the team in steals, 3rd on the team in rebounds. And more than that, he can fourth quarter scoring. He can get them a bucket when they need one. He's pretty much unguardable. The only way to stop him, and if you've been watching the Pistons this year, you know what it is. They have to throw 2-3 guys at him constantly. But the Pistons have now found a way, it seems, to start adapting to that, to adjust and get easy buckets out of that. So it'll be interesting to see when it comes playoff time what teams are going to do in a 7-game series to try and stop Cade. All right, and then I think also important, Those are the two biggest things, but it's also very important that the rest of the team continues to improve. And I think, though, those are largely, not entirely, but largely come from Bickerstaff and Cunningham. Cunningham emerging as one of the NBA's best, and Bickerstaff and his change in coaching, the toughness, the defense, the philosophy on improvement. Those two things have led to the roster continually improving. Jalen Duren is having a career year. He's an all-star. He's tied for 7th in the NBA in double-doubles. This offseason, people were talking about that the Pistons needed to move on from him. That, he's not the guy to pair with Cade. He can't. And he's proved everybody wrong. And I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. I think that we need to show the receipts on a lot of these media, Detroit Pistons media, podcasters, writers that were talking about getting rid of him, shipping him out for a big that can shoot threes, because that's all they care about. Asar Thompson is a defensive star. He's developing as an offensive player. The playmaking ability, the ability to handle the basketball is getting better as time has gone on. He's getting more confident. And it's really, when he plays aggressive, he's really good on offense. But that aggressiveness all the time on defense, he's one of the league's premier perimeter defenders. You have Ron Hustleman Holland, who is just an absolute agitator, phenomenal on defense, making those extra plays, getting to the loose balls. Sometimes you have to deal with him playing a little out of control, but that's getting better as time goes on. Isaiah Stewart is one of the league's best rim protectors, the team's enforcer, the kind of the spirit of the team, the grit, the grind, the having each other's back. Isaiah Stewart kind of exemplifies all of that. Again, this is another player that the Pistons have that is among the league's best defenders. Thompson and Stewart, I think there's a case for both of them to make the all-defensive first team this season. And possibly one of them winning Defensive Player of the Year. Then you have Tobias Harris, who at times has provided some serious, much-needed scoring, and has also, obviously, the veteran presence that he's given this team has been invaluable. And then you have the off-season additions with Duncan Robinson. He's just an excellent player. I know a lot of the emphasis on him goes to the three-point shooting, but he is a excellent player off the screen, has offensive IQ, off the charts, knows where to move the ball, knows when to shoot, knows when to hold. Probably on this team, second to only Cade Cunningham in terms of that. Javonte Green has got to be the most underrated pickup of the offseason, maybe in the NBA. His defense and his surprisingly good offense, he shoots pretty well, and he makes big plays again. He fits the identity of this team. It was seen as like a throwaway move in the offseason. He really emerged as a key role player for this team. Paul Reed is, this sounds crazy to even talk about. He's the best third-string center in the NBA by far. He could start on a lot of teams. And he comes in and he is prepared. Again, another guy that really embodies the mentality of this team. They really got a lot of guys that play the way that Bickerstaff wants to play. Danis Jenkins has become one of the league's best stories with his rise this season. He provides some scoring, but a lot of it is that he's a much-needed secondary ball handler. I trust him with the basketball in key situations. And again, defensively, there's nobody on this team that is a liability on defense. He's a good ball-hawking defensive player. And then you have Karis LeVert and Marcus Sasser, additional backcourt depth. And Langdon really has done a great job assembling this team. He really has. They're just missing a young, athletic guard that can shoot threes and run the floor, maybe handle the ball a little bit. Maybe, I think, like Purdue brings out a lot of guys like that, Probably somebody closer to 23, It's just too bad they don't have that. They have, another guy on the team. So, all right, let's turn to the Tigers. All right. And just to address that little joke there, I think in a year going for a title, it was a mistake to trade Ivy. Maybe they did it for him. I don't know. So far I've watched Kevin Huerter. I think he's a fine player. I don't think maybe this is what it was. That's not a playoff rotation player on this team unless he massively improves his offensive game. Like the outside shooting, he has to be a threat because otherwise he doesn't provide something different than, say, Karis LeVert, who I also don't think is going to be in the playoff rotation. Neither of them is more important to the Pistons winning than Javonte Green and Ron Holland at those wing positions. Both those guys are more important to have in the game, even though they're not necessarily world beaters outside, shooting the three. Although Kevin Huerter's three-point percentage is a lot closer to Ron Holland's than a lot of people would like to discuss. All right. So the Tigers, most exciting news I have heard, I couldn't even believe it was real, that Justin Verlander is back in a Tigers uniform. I've been kind of pitching this like every year. And a few years ago when he hit free agency, it felt like it would be more of a feel-good story. But now he's coming back and they're making a title run. The Tigers are this season with Skubal and Valdez and Mize and Flaherty and Verlander in that rotation. That could be the best rotation in baseball. The last 11 games last year, he had a 2.87 ERA. He can still contribute to winning. This is not just a feel-good like when Chauncey Billups came back to the Pistons at the end of his career, or even Ben Wallace, who that team was so bad, and old Ben Wallace was still the best, maybe the best player on that team. He came back to be kind of like a role player and ended up starting a lot of games because he was just outworking a lot of the young players that the Pistons had at that time. But Verlander could kind of exceed all those expectations and be a real game changer for the Tigers, Verlander. And I know it's disappointing that Reese Olson is out for the year, and you'd love to see having that player, that caliber of a pitcher, a young pitcher like Olson, in the rotation. But yet again, he's hurt. There's nothing you can do about it. You pivot and you get a move like this that isn't just a talent move. This feels like the Tigers saying, "This is our year. We're gonna go do this." Unfinished business with Verlander, who didn't even want to leave in the first place. So I really think it could be a full circle moment that this team does something special this season. And the bullpen too, I mean, looking at it, they have Vest, Finnegan, Jansen, Holton, Herter. I mean, probably Drew Anderson now is going to slide into the bullpen. That's 6 of their 8, and then you could put Montero in there, who I really like is a right-handed Tyler Holton type. Troy Melton, him and Montero, maybe for the depth they want them in Toledo to keep them stretched out. But you have Brisky, Hanafi, and a mess of others competing for those last couple of spots. This is going to be a really good rotation. They have pitching depth for starters. They have good bullpen. Maybe you could have a few surprises there even. And then the hitting is what everybody's concerned about because of the nosedive it took last year. I don't expect this Tigers team to be as bad as they were down the stretch or as good as they were at the first 60 games. They're going to be somewhere in between there. And you're going to have some progression in approaches to the plate, like Riley Green. I think that Colt Keith and Dylan Dingler could be poised for breakout years. This is a lot of you're counting on. But really, with this pitching, with this starting rotation, if it goes the way that you hope, and the bullpen, the same thing, the Tigers just need to finish league average at the plate. The rotation in that bullpen should be able to get the job done most games. And then you could see some guys starting to break out in some comfortability. I think it's completely possible. Even one of the like a Kevin McGonigal somehow cracking the team, breaking out on opening day. It would be really cool. And I think it's possible that some of these players have breakout years or break out of these old patterns. But I don't expect another McKinstry Baez all-star campaign type seasons. But if you get healthy Colt Keith, healthy Gleyber Torres, Dylan Dingler takes a step forward, Torkelson kind of solidifies himself, Riley Green comes back and adjusts his approach at the plate, Kerry Carpenter does Kerry Carpenter things, Matt Vierling's healthy, you don't know what that's going to contribute. You really could see them finish in the top 10 to 15, which I know some people are like, oh, you got to have pitching. And we saw that. The Tigers couldn't hit at all, but they won a series and almost won a second series in the postseason last year because pitching in the postseason keeps you in these games, particularly good starting pitching. And the Tigers really, really have that. And I think they've even shored up their the back end of their bullpen so they don't have to have Finnegan throw every single game in the postseason. They have Vest, they have Jansen. Hopefully Holton and Herter are playing a little better, and you never know with some of these other guys who could step up. That's what has to happen. I know people are like, oh, you keep saying if this happens, if that happens, if. That's what needs to happen unless you get to pay $1 billion roster like the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Mets. You have to have people have their best year. Multiple people have their best year. You have to have surprises like, where'd that guy come from? And maybe it's just one great year that they have and never play at that level again. That's what championship teams need. And that's why, like, just to put it in comparison, that's why I feel good about the Pistons. You have Javonte Green having the best year of his career. You have Jalen Duren having a breakout year. You have Asar Thompson breaking out this year. You have Danis Jenkins coming out of nowhere and contributing. That's what it takes to win a title. You have to have those things, guys playing above their level, surprising players surprising you and playing at a higher level than they ever will or ever have. Again, so I really feel confident about the Tigers' chances this season to compete for a World Series. And as far as the cheap talk goes, the Tigers, I think, are 10th in payroll now. They're really putting it out there. They're just under the tax threshold, and I think they've really committed to it. And if options become available to improve the lineup, I think they want to see what they have first. What are these guys going to do? Are some of these prospects going to make the team out of camp? See what you have. And then I think this year they can be a little bit more aggressive adding at the plate at the deadline instead of trying to recover from so many pitchers going down. And for any Red Wings fans, the Tigers' approach right now has got to make you feel pretty confident that Chris Ilitch is going to have Steve Yzerman's back if they make a go-for-it type move or any type of move really at the deadline, that they're going to be buyers this year. It feels like everybody in Detroit is finally saying it's time to win. And it's very exciting because I feel that at least 3 of the 4 teams are title contenders and all 4 should be playoff locks for the foreseeable future. Maybe I'll end up on freezing cold takes for saying that, but it really, really feels that way right now. That the trajectory is up. These aren't flash in the pan. One year they play well, one year they don't play well. Back in the top 10 picks. We're talking about who they're going to draft in the early first round. It doesn't feel like that anymore for any of them. Of the 3, I think we could see something really special in the next calendar year. All right, so that is all I have for you on this All-Star weekend. Please enjoy. And if you liked this, please subscribe, follow. We're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. If you like to watch the videos, YouTube, obviously. All right, so thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.